Doesn't anyone know anything about raw sexual attraction? Well, look who came sniffing back for more. A little while ago, I reviewed every classic book I had ever read in one sentence each, and you lot begged, pleaded, were on the floor asking for more, which is optimistic in your mind, to be honest, thinking that I've read more than 50 classic books. However, because my debut poetry collection, Bargain Bin Rom-Com, is released this week, I thought it'd be fitting to instead review lots and lots of my favourite or not favourite rom-coms in one sentence for you today. So that's what we're gonna do. All opinions are my own, and even maybe not even mine. I don't even really feel like a static person most of the time, but I feel like I believe some of this. Let's go. Along came Polly. I will never look at a ferret in the same way again. 27 dresses still causes my nipples to get involuntarily hard whenever I'm in a supermarket and Benny and the Jets plays. Benny and the Jets. This has already gone off the rails, hasn't it? Oh God. The ugly truth. Gerard Butler giving massive incel energy for 80 minutes of the film, followed by a 10-minute redemption arc. Also, NB Hollywood, if you have an incredibly hot male lead with a natural Scottish accent, you do not ask him to do an American one. Doesn't anyone know anything about raw sexual attraction? Muriel's wedding. Thanks, I hate it. Harriet did not deserve this script. Please, somebody call her union. Hitch. Deeply problematic in retrospect, but does make me really sad that I haven't met more people called Allegra. Allegra! Allegra! Are you kidding? Imagine being called a brisk and lively tempo. Like, that's your name. P.S. I love you. I find watching this film genuinely more emotionally scarring and devastating than actual real-life breakups I have been through. Bridget Jones' diary. Mistress Peace. Genre-defining, decade-defining. I like you very much, just as you are. Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason. As if Lion King 2 wasn't enough, finally some hard evidence that sequels are usually better. It's the hill I'm willing to die on. Take me, now. Bridget Jones' baby. Let me just say this clearly, and once and for all. Mark Darcy is the one who is supposed to die. That's canon. Read the books. That said, I respect the sacrilege. Go off. Love Actually. Hugh Grant is the best Prime Minister Britain has ever had. And maybe that says more about Britain than it does about Hugh Grant. Did you hear about the Morgans? Why bother with marriage counselling? Just make sure you witness a horrific murder together. It's the perfect way to circumvent divorce, and you get to mix with simple country people. Ooh. Love and Other Drugs. Watching this just after getting my vaccine and realising that the main hero works for Pfizer was incredibly Black Mirror, but thankfully distracted by how hot Anne Hathaway is in this film and how incredible she is. The Lake House. The best film ever made. Link up here. I've got a whole video essay on it. No takebacks. The 1999 version of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Yes, Shakespeare, the original OG rom-com screenwriter. And if you don't think Jacobean prose can be improved by a mud fight and Stanley Tucci in horns, then you are mistaken, my friend. You are mistaken. The Wedding Date. If you are Deborah Messing and you hire a sex worker and wear enough silky, perfectly tailored dresses, he will abandon his profession and fall in love with you. That's just maths. Marry Me. Time was filled. It happened. Thank you so much to all of the professionals who managed to embalm and then re-resurrect these actors from the dead. Their faces don't seem to have changed for 20 years, which is less aspirational and more like medically worrying. About Time. I can't believe that this film didn't single-handedly end the white wedding dress industry. It is now obvious to me, Rachel McAdams, that everybody should wear red for weddings. Why did we not see this before? I haven't seen the last quarter of this film because usually I'm just crying through it. It's just a wall of salty water. What if your childhood crush was actually the naked man who lives in the forest behind your house? Save the Last Dance gave me incredibly inflated ideas of how good my dance skills were, and on retrospect, rewatching it recently, I think it did the same for Julia Stiles. Toys R Us racial commentary, but it was there. And also Sean Patrick Thomas is incredibly hot and incredibly good in this. Why didn't his career go off in the same way that Julia Stiles did? Questions. Not to be confused with Shall We Dance? An utterly underrated masterpiece. Lisa Ann Walters' best work since Chessie. Richard Gere giving off a frankly illegal amount of DILF energy. Even Jennifer Lopez is on form. And Stanley Tucci, ballroom dancing. If you are not pleased by this film, then you are by definition unsatisfiable, and you should take that up with your therapist. What if 1 hour and 42 minutes of Daniel Radcliffe not taking no for an answer? Hampstead. I have seen the first half of this film twice, and I've never been able to bring myself to finish it because it's literally so badly acted. And this comes from somebody who this should be catnip for. This is literally an old commie squatting on ground and reclaiming land from the man. This should be my favourite film. My best friend's wedding. Roasting the not like other girls trope before opinion piece writers could even hold a pen. A eulogy for the friend zone and all the toxic traits that go with it. R.I.P. Send it up. Rest in peace. When Harry Met Sally. Oh, this film is like a Where's Wally picture. Like every time I watch it, and I watch it, there's always something new to discover. Every time I watch it, I'm like, never saw that, never thought about that line. What? It's just, you've got mail. This isn't a romance, especially if you've ever worked in books. This is a horror film. As if I should need to say it, never shag Jeff Bezos, especially if you own an independent bookshop. And even if he has the face of Tom Hanks, he will burn it to the ground and literally never apologise. Bend it like Beckham. It should have been Jess and Jules. It should have been Jess and Jules. However, this film was responsible for my brief flirtation with the women's football world from the ages of like 11 to 13. So deepest apologies to any women in the Coventry area who lost their games because of me. You would genuinely think I was being paid by the other team. What women want. Not this. Not this. The 2005 The Best Man. Not a lot of people have seen this, and I know that it's kind of bad, but I also kind of really love it, and I don't know if it's just kind of like awkwardly, grubbily British rather than sexy Notting Hill British, and that's why it never really cottoned on, but I genuinely think this is quite a good film, and it's about a guy who has writer's block and then falls in love with his best friend's fiance, and that's the only way he can get out of his writer's block. Someone great. This is on the list because it is a rom-com about getting over the end of a rom-com in your life, and it's one of those films that it's a watch a 10 times a day kind of film. Like, it's so good, and also it makes me think, why isn't there a genre for films that take place over one day? Like, where's that list? I would watch those films. Waiting to Exhale. I very rarely say this, so listen very carefully. The film was better than the book. This is a really cozy, comfort, incredibly dated 90s film, but like, what a soundtrack. What a moment. So many good performances. The Notebook did saddle me with an incredible amount of confusing emotional baggage around romance, however, did make me less scared to get Alzheimer's when I'm older, so win. Crazy Rich Asians. Don't really remember what happened in this film because everything was so beautifully shot and so decadent that I literally blacked out. But as a socialist, I can honestly hold my hands up and say it did give me really dirty fantasies about being filthy rich. As good as it gets. If this is as good as it gets, that is horrifying. This is only a fantasy romance for a woman who has just broken out of Gilead. Groundhog Day, another romantic deception film in which the woman never gets let in on the plot. However, it is one of those films that I feel like I can just watch again and again and again. 10 things I hate about you. I guess in this society, being a male and an asshole makes you worthy of our time. A film entirely made up of one-liners, and I'm okay with it. Clueless. I have said it before, and I will say it again. This is not an adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma. It's loosely inspired by, based on, in the same way that The Lion King is not Hamlet. And Jane Austen would never make one of her characters shag her brother. That is fucking weird. Why did they put that in there? In the original, Emma's brother is married to Mr. Knightley's sister. That is very different from having directly been the stepbrother of somebody, no? And for that reason, I can't enjoy it. I literally can't enjoy it. The Girl Next Door. I'm genuinely not kidding. This is a rom-com about sex trafficking high school boys. Look up the Wikipedia. It's a wild ride. I used to watch this a lot. Weirdly, at sleepovers. And it also features a lot of men telling women that they're better than sex work. So imagine me and you. Okay, this is a film about a bride who has a love at first sight moment whilst walking down the aisle towards someone else with the female florist at her own wedding. How was it executed? I don't care, because that premise is so freaking good. To all the boys I've loved before, this is what I would term a Mary Poppins film, practically perfect in every way. Love, Rosie. If a boy eats paper for you, that is a more dependable way of being able to tell his undying devotion to you than any kind of ring or joint house deposit. You just have to wait around 30 years for it. Okay, away we go. I lose faith in humanity every time I think about how this film isn't incredibly famous. It's a will they, won't they romance between a couple and their location, where they're gonna live. It's like a perfect indie road trip film with loads of faces you probably already recognize and love, so the maths doesn't add up. Why isn't this number one? Carol. This film will simultaneously rip your heart out and send you to sleep at the same time. It defies physics. I can't explain it. A Cinderella Story. Waiting for a film to come out that is as satisfying as this one is like waiting for rain in this drought. Useless and disappointing. No, but really, it's a good film. The only thing is that Jennifer Coolidge should have played the lead role, but apart from that, I can't follow it. Notting Hill. Controversial opinion. Put your seatbelts on. This film is only successful because of the good supporting roles and the way it's shot. Like the actual dialogue and the actual main characters and the performance and the plot line are kind of like quite flat. It was just in the era where everyone was just realizing that they really fancied Hugh Grant, and that's why it's famous. The Holiday, again, I just think this film could have shifted focus to feature the old man Arthur a little bit more, but apart from that, I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's one of my favorite films ever, and is responsible for the namesake, the Gumption Club. That's all because of the quote in this film. 51st Dates. Can you give consent when you wake up every day and don't remember your husband and he's trapped you on a boat in the middle of the Atlantic? We will never know the answer. Knocked Up, 20% endearing, 80% completely harrowing, is definitely on my wish list as a pro-life propaganda film, as is Juno. But it did help me discover the Mouldy Peaches at a time where that was incredibly relevant to my ukulele playing life. So can I be as mad at it? Not quite. It's got fingernails. And finally, Dirty Dancing, a film for our pre- and then post, and then pre again, Roe v. Wade time. So good. I have a video up here about how much I freaking love it. And this soundtrack is weirdly my food shopping soundtrack. It's what I listen to when I walk around the supermarket picking out watermelons and such. So do with that information what you will. That was my list. Now, I didn't include musicals. I know, you're gonna say it in the comments. You probably already typed it. That's because we would be here literally all day. But if you would like me to do a musical version of this, let me know in the comments below. Now, as a lot of you know, I'm really into books. Books is my thing. I own a lot of books. I read a lot of books. That's what I do. That is my hobby. I do watch films, but I'm by no means a self-curator of the films that I watch. I'm the first to put my hand up and say, I will just watch what is served to me. And after retrospectively looking at this list, I realised that it's incredibly straight and incredibly white. And maybe I shouldn't just take what's served to me. Maybe I should start curating that a little bit more. If you are the same, pop into the description because I have sourced some Gumption knowledge and made a list of lots of films that my patrons have recommended to me to make my list less incredibly dated and skewed and 90s. I also just don't even really watch that many new films. That's something, again, I'm like, should I fix it? I don't know, but I'm just not somebody who it occurs to. So I know there's been loads of like more diverse, better films that have come out in the last 5 years that I need to catch the fuck up on. So if you'd like to join me in that homework, you can go down there to find those. I've also just realised while looking at myself in the viewfinder that I've accidentally cosplayed as Tara Mumi. This is that dress that I've had for literally years. I wore it for the Mean Girls video, if some of you remember. And then I got this backdrop because of my bargain bin rom-com times, and I've realised, so I'm happy to do an accidental homage to her. My new poetry collection, Bargain Bin Rom-Com, is filled with rom-coms that go right and rom-coms that go wrong. It's written so that if you haven't really read poetry before, it should be super accessible for you. It's filled with doom and glitter and whatnot. I illustrated it myself, and if you would like to grab and nab yourself a copy, there is a link in my description. I would really appreciate it. If you've ever loved my videos and thought, I would buy that girl a pint. This is the pint, please. I'm calling in my pint favours. I have been Lena Norms and I upload every Monday, so hit the subscribe button if you would like another one of these. If you like this video, I reckon you might like some of these. This video was made possible by the Gumption Club. Frog Snog out.